they really can be very engaging and rewarding for the right kind of person. They are a hands-off pet, so they have to stay in the habitat. But when you spend some time really observing them and getting to know their biology and their behaviors, they exhibit personality and things that would make you laugh, or they can show signs of problem solving and memory. They are so underrated. They are not just a little lump that sits in its shell that most of the people I speak to are familiar with.
You know, you're on vacation, it's summer, you're at a beach, and you happen to go into one of the shops to see if maybe you would like a souvenir. And lo and behold, there's the hermit crabs, and they're colorful and these beautiful painted shells, and they have your favorite character on them. And then lo and behold, your kiddo's like, I have to have those. I mean, that's how our journey started. So maybe yours is similar. My daughter definitely was interested in the hermit crabs and wanted them as a souvenir from our family beach trip. So a few things to keep in mind if this happens to be you standing in front of the display of hermit crabs at the beach shop. First of all, more than likely, I can't speak for every shop out there, but more than likely you're going to be given misinformation or a lack of correct information because it's a marketing ploy. They're wanting to sell you hermit crabs. It's also not 100% their fault. There hasn't been the correct information readily available for a long, long time. So it's really possible that the owners of these shops really don't know the proper care for hermit crabs. So lucky for you, you get to know this information ahead of time. So things to think about is that they are not a short-term pet.
The pet store leads you to believe that that's just normal. And it's normal for them to die after 2 or 3 years. They're just a disposable pet. They're, they just last a year or two and then you're done with them and you can move on to another pet.
They're marketed as something that will only live for a short time. But the reality is hermit crabs can live up to 40 years when properly cared for in captivity. That being said, the way you're going to receive them at a beach shop or at an animal store is going to be in a small container that has an open lid or a vented lid, no heat or humidity. Chances are they're going to give you some pellet food and a little sponge and some inadequate substrate and tell you that's all this little guy needs to live his short life.
Another misconception is that they are happy living in a little tiny box. When they live in a little tiny box, they literally just sit in a corner like a lump. There's no heat, there's no humidity. They are in survival mode.
Hermit crabs actually need a lot of space, as you can see behind me. They travel miles along the beach at night to find food. They're scavengers by nature. They climb, so they need a lot of space to be able to move around. Also, they molt to grow. They have to molt in order to grow. And to do that safely, they need to be able to burrow down in the sand. That's what they do in nature. So without the correct substrate or enough substrate, they can't do that, which causes them to do a surface molt, which is very dangerous for them. And a lot of times they will mistakenly be seen as being dead from the owner and be thrown away, or they won't survive that surface molt and they will in fact die.
There are some alternatives to purchasing a wild-caught crab at the pet store. One of those options is adoption. And our organization is actually, as far as I know, the very first to ever have a hermit crab adoption program. And it's quite large. I have a team of people that run that program. And we get hundreds of applications every year of people not only giving up their hermit crabs, but people applying to become approved adopters. So you're taking those unwanted crabs, even though they are wild-caught crabs, they are already in the pet trade, already in someone's home, and need to be cared for properly. So adopting them is a great way to get pets without feeding the trade. The other way is to purchase some captive bred babies. And our organization is also part of the world's only captive bred hermit crab program.
We're hoping to change the industry with captive breeding. So this all started with Mary Akers, and she started Hermit House Breeding, which is a nonprofit. And we went to CrabCon in 2019 and adopted our very first captive bred hermit crabs from Mary Akers. So it's in telling you that this is still in its infancy. So when I say to adopt from Craigslist or Facebook Market or go through Lycos adoption program. It's because that's where you can find a hermit crab now, like today in your area or close by. Captive breeding isn't quite to that point yet, but we are hopeful, and that is our mission, is to get captive breeding to the point where it's sustainable and reproducible in a way that we overturn the industry, where you're no longer finding wild-caught crabs in stores, pet shops, or even needing to be your home. That, you know, every household hermit crab pet will come from captive breeding that is humane, sustainable, and reproducible.